So in this section, we're going to be talking about a mathematical operation first, and then after we talk about how to do the mathematical operation, then we'll start working on problems related to it. So first we're going to introduce the notation, which is factorial. So this means the product of decreasing positive whole numbers. Again, we'll talk about why we use this in a second, but let's talk about what 3 factorial is. So 3 factorial would be 3 times 2 times 1. And 3 times 2 times 6, 3 times 2 is 6, times 1 is still 6. So 3 factorial would be 6. Now, you have this button on your calculator. So if you have a TI-83, to do 3 factorial, you enter in 3, we go to Math, and then we arrow over to the probability menu, and we select number 4. We're going to be using 2, 3, and 4 in this section. Then you hit enter and you can see that that verifies that we did get 6. If you have a TI-30, you're going to look for a button like this that says PRB. So you would hit the 3, then you would hit the PRB and you would arrow over, and the factorial should look like an exclamation point, and it should be the third option there. So regardless, sometimes if you have a different calculator, check the second buttons on here, or I would say look for the manual for your calculator and see if it's there, but most of these calculators should have factorial on there. So 7 factorial is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, but I don't want to do that by hand, so let's do it on the calculator. So 7, math, arrow over to probability, select number 4, and hit enter, and that's 5,040. All right, and finally 5 factorial, 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. I'm not going to do that by hand. Again, we're just going to hit 5, math, arrow over to probability, and select number 4. And that is 120. One special thing to note is 0 factorial is just 1. Don't worry about in Excel. We're going to use our calculator to help us do this. Why do we use factorials now? You're probably wondering, I have this new mathematical operation. How am I going to use that? This is how you compute the number of arrangements possible. So a collection of n different items can be arranged n factorial different ways. So it says how many ways can you go to McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Dairy Queen? How many restaurants are there? This is a collection of 3 different restaurants. So they can be arranged in 3 times 2 times 1 different ways. Or another way to say that is 3 factorial. And we computed 3 factorial above, right up here, and we got 6. So there are 6 different ways. You could go to McDonald's, Taco Bell, Dairy Queen, or McDonald's, Dairy Queen, Taco Bell, Dairy Queen, McDonald's, so on and so forth. So different ordering or arrangements are also called permutations. So let's talk about permutations. It says if you want to take statistics, English, so we got statistics, English, computer, and science classes. Those are 4 different classes, right? So how many ways can we take those 4 different classes? It's going to be 4 factorial, or 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 different ways. 4 factorial, 4 math, go to probability. That's 24 different permutations. So we got 24. All right. So now, what happens if you only wanted to take 3 of the 4 classes? How many different ways can you take 3 of these classes? So what we're going to do here is, if you only have 3, you're going to do 4 times 3 times 2, which is the same thing. It's still going to give you 24 permutations. But I don't want to worry about this. When you have a collection of things, so we have 4 things, and we are putting them in permutations of 3, we're going to use a special operation in the calculator for that, and it's going to be called 4p3. So instead of doing the 4 times 3 times 2, we'll get the same thing. Let's clear that out. Let's actually do this the way that we're going to see these problems. It's going to be 4, and then you're going to select the permutation key, and then 3. And let's talk about how we do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to enter the 4 first. Then we're going to go to this probability menu again. So we go to 4, and then you can see number 2 is NPR. That's our permutation operator. and then 3. Notice we do this when we have a bigger number than what we are selecting for our permutation. So I'm not permutating all 4 things. If I was permutating all 4 things, I would just use a factorial. But this, I have 4, and I'm picking just 3 of those classes and seeing the arrangements of those 3. And you can see we also get 24. Okay? So if you have that TI-30 calculator that we were talking about earlier, again, you're going to hit 4, then go to this probability menu, and you will see NPR in that choice. Or check out if you have another different type of calculator, it might be in the second function. Okay, so the next one, it says, how many different ways, different 4-letter words can you make from the name Walt Disney? Here's one thing I want to make note. These are all unique letters. There's no repeats. There's only one A, there's only one Y, there's only one I. Every single letter shows up only once. That's really, really important to this idea. Now, how many letters do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 different letters, right? So this would be 10 factorial different permutations. This is how many different 4-letter words. Let's just say arrangements of 4 letters. So actually, sorry, back this up. This would not be 10 factorial, would it? What would this be? Because I'm not arranging all 10 of these letters, right? I have 10 letters to choose from, and then I am arranging them in permutations of 4. So this one is going to be 10p4. That's the number of different arrangements. You want to put the bigger number first always. So we're going to 10. We're going to go to select permutation, and then we're going to put them in groups of 4, and we can see that there are 5,040 different permutations. So this is going to be 5,040. What is the probability of randomly choosing the word Neil? So there's only one of those arrangements, right? So the probability of getting those letters in that order is 1 over 50/40.